It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. Commanders OTAs, Phase 3, Day 1 in the books. I was there. I thought for a second I wouldn't be making it here on time because, buddy, Anthony Haney, super producer of the show, magically on the other side of the screen here if you're watching on YouTube or right there in real life, the other voice you're about to hear. Instant traffic, just add water, a DMV tradition unlike any other. Oh, my God. I left Ashburn at, let's see. Actually, I can tell you what time I left Ashburn because I sent someone a text. I was on the phone with you. Well, actually, I can just check that. I called you at, this is twice this week, by the way, that I've checked my phone log to see what time you called me. Or I called you. The other one was because Anthony wished me a good night on Monday. If you missed that segment yesterday, highly entertaining radio, go back and find it. I think it was 6:15. I called you walking through the parking lot at 2:27. By 2:30, I was pulling out of Coach Gibbs' drive. There was a point that my GPS said I was going to land here at 3:57. Luckily, I got about 3:47, which allowed me to eat my lunch. Yes, lunch at 3:47, and get us set up for the show here. But I was a little scared there for a moment.
3:57. Oh my God. I'm not gonna lie, I've had that feeling before as well. It's not a good feeling.
Yeah, so it took me well over an hour to get here. So if you're out there driving through it right now, please drive safely. Don't cause a wreck, because that's a good way to not get where you want to go. We have a loaded show today. Obviously, I'll talk about here in a second some of the things I saw. You'll hear from Dan Quinn in a moment as well on some of the guys that we didn't see. Cliff Kingsbury spoke. Tyler Biotish spoke. Jaden Daniels spoke. All of the best sound of the day and a pick six coming up at 6 o'clock. We also have a couple of other things happening today. A lot of you might be driving up to Baltimore to see the Fever and Mystics game, although perhaps less than originally planned because Caitlin Clark is not playing. We'll talk about that. I also talked to Jaylen Lane, the Commanders' rookie wide receiver. We will let you hear that conversation at 4:30. We are 4:45. What do we decide? 4:45?
4:45.
4:45. We also have Mike Rizzo this morning on the Junkies defending himself and the Nationals organization after a piece that came out that I am fascinated by that was written by Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic. So we will discuss Nationals. Yeah, we're going to do a little Nationals today as well. But we start with OTAs and what we saw and what we didn't see. And what we didn't see is perhaps the bigger headline and who we didn't see. Who we did not see included Terry McLaurin, expected based off the current contract situation. But we also did not see Laramie Tunsil, and we also did not see Marshawn Lattimore. What do we make of that? Here's Dan Quinn talking about some of his veterans. 3 of the 4 most expensive players on the team, I do believe, not showing up to the voluntary workout today.
What's your approach with that? It's a voluntary situation, but you obviously would like guys here, but it's voluntary. So what's your approach on handling all that?
I think it's not one size fits all for everything, and in my opinion, this has been a fantastic offseason. And it's not just the players, it's also the coaches too, John, to say, can we level up, and to level up, what do you look at? And what do you want to change? What do you want to keep the same? And so the offseason has been excellent, and so I've been in touch with every guy on the team, and so I've really enjoyed this time. I also have some, stronger relationships than you did maybe a year ago with everybody being new, and now so that blend of the year 2 players, to go through with it. It's one of the things I do enjoy about coaching. Like, if you can get to know the man before the ball player, it helps take it and push it a little further. And so for the guys who are the year 1, the new players here, not just a rookie, but a new free agent that may have joined the team, getting to know them and watching them practice today for the first time. Like, you could see guys work hard in the strength and conditioning, but it's another thing to see the speed of processing and on the field. And so today we just did some 7-on-7 and some 2-minute, and then we'll add more team as we go. I like to ramp it up, as opposed to doing everything all at once day 1.
So That's the company line from Dan Quinn, where at some point in that answer, he totally veered off of the premise, which is like, what are we doing without Lattimore and Tunsil and McLaurin? To me, this is only a big deal if Lattimore and Tunsil are doing this for contract purposes. I would like Lattimore of the three in training camp the most because his hamstring issue severely hampered him last year. I want him there to be a mentor to guys like Mike Sanderstill and Trey Amos. I want him to know this defense inside and out. And I want to, if I'm the team, I want to watch how he's moving and have as much control over the rehab as possible. He might have been, I think he was there earlier in the offseason for phase 1 and phase 2. So, like, it's not a huge deal, but also, like, why are you not here? Are you just wanting to do your own thing? Did you have a family vacation scheduled this week? Did you, whatever. That said, it's voluntary. I'm also not going to make a bigger deal out of it as in my current role as a media member versus if I'm cosplaying as a team, if I'm cosplaying as Dan Quinn or Adam Peters. But, like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this is catastrophic. But I am going to say, like, if he wants new money, what's the path to getting him in camp? Like, is he going to sit out the mandatory stuff? Is he going to sit out the any days of training camp? Because Marshawn Lattimore, from a contract standpoint, he's got $16 million this year, or $18 million on the cap, $16 million in base, and a $2 million roster bonus each of the next 2 years, $16.5 in 2026. And that money's not guaranteed. Marshawn Lattimore has zero guaranteed dollars left. They can cut him for a $2 million dead cap hit this afternoon if they wanted to. If I'm Marshawn Lattimore, I would like that money more guaranteed. Hey, can you at least guarantee my base for this year? And if I'm Adam Peters and that's what it takes to make him happy, I probably am doing it. It doesn't change the cap math. It doesn't change anything. If you needed to create space, you could obviously convert some of that to signing bonus. He would get more cash up front, so he's happy. It then also pushes cash into the cap next year. I would just either try to stay on the contract as it is and just be like, no, man, you're going to play. You're going to get your game checks. It'll be fine. Or guarantee this year. And, if you're Lattimore, you're looking for new money that goes into next year that provides you with more long-term security. And if you're the Commanders, you're probably not wanting that. Laramie Tunsil's in a similar situation. Laramie Tunsil also has 2 years remaining on his deal, this year and next year. If you, at the end of this year, want to move on from Laramie Tunsil, you could at zero dead cap money. They knew that when they acquired him. He's going to make about $21 million each of the next 2 years, both in cash and cap. And you don't make a trade like you did for Tunsil. And frankly, you don't make a trade like you did for Lattimore unless you plan on having those guys here longer. I think the difference is for Lattimore, you then had a half a season that was not very good performance and he was injured. So why would you guarantee anything more? If you're Tunsil, one, it's a bigger investment. And you gave up a second rounder next year and a high third this year on top of some other things. But you probably want to see him play first before you decide just what that contract is going to look like. You're going to extend him for 2 years, 3 years. Is it just a 1 year extension? Or are you just guaranteeing next year? Like, there's a lot of different ways you can go about that, but you want to see him. And so if these guys want that money before they participate in anything, then there might be a problem. But chances are their agents and Adam Peters have already had the conversations. Dan Quinn and everyone on the team knows what's up. And ultimately, especially for a guy like Tunsil, I used to talk about this with Trent Williams all the time. Like, Laramie Tunsil's a one-of-one kind of guy. He is incredibly athletically gifted. And while, yes, there are schematic things and timing and teamwork and whatever stuff that he's got to learn as an offensive lineman with his new teammates, if Laramie Tunsil wants to go work out on his own because Laramie Tunsil can get more out of his own workouts than the quote-unquote group workout, I'm fine with that. He'll pick up all that stuff in training camp and be fine. Laramie Tunsil doesn't need voluntary OTAs. And Marshawn Lattimore, if you want to throw him in that category, like, fine. He's not as good as Tunsil is, but like, this is a guy that's been around. How much individual drill does he need to do in a team setting versus whatever else he wants to do that's more individualized? It's just not that big of a deal. And so understanding why these guys are out and what it's going to take to get them back, that is a quote-unquote big deal, in that understanding that is important. But pretending like it's some catastrophic thing that could derail their season, or there is some enormous hit on their ability to perform in the fall, I think that is probably taking it a step too far. Coming up next, what did I see? That's what I didn't see today at OTAs. Up next, what I did see, including a heck of a start for one of the Commanders' rookies. That's next on The Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always alive as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too, at the Team 980. Where I feel like I'm sitting a little low in the camera shot today. That's better. Also, Anthony, your camera is a little too tall. We're gonna bring that down. It's okay. It's not. It's on my end. I can fix it. But look at us looking like we're the same height. Now we're all set. So yeah, you can watch the show each and every day on YouTube at the Team 980. All right, Anthony, you ready to run through some mini camp or not mini camp? There's too many names for stuff. OTAs, observations. Are you ready for what I saw and the notes that I jotted down?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Excellent. Cool. Internal processing error on the hotkey. There we go. Got it. Music, or you must have observational music, which sounds like it should be like elevator music or something, but we're observing football, so this is the music. No, I do not want to call my mom. I want the Notes app on my phone. Really a mess. How much you want to bet that my mom calls me back? I don't even know if that call got completed to get out.
Oh, it did.
If it did. Sorry, Mom. All right. OTAs. It started for Jaden Daniels in the 7-on-7 period. Like, they did a bunch of individual drills and stuff. And first of all, there's 90 guys. It's inside in the bubble, which is, in a way, nice because for us as a media, because we can kind of see as opposed to everyone being spread around of all the fields. But they also, like, what's the word? They, like, penned us down. Like, we were contained. That's the word I'm looking for. Down in one area of the sideline. So Jaden and the quarterbacks were working on the far side away from us, like across the field. And then on the other side of the field, like we were inside the 25 on one side on the sideline. And then on the other side of the field, like the other side of the 50, you had like O-line, D-line, stuff working down there. So I don't have a ton for you on the line. And that's also kind of how it works. And then the only competitive situation was 7-on-7 anyway. So I don't have a ton for you there. But once they go through the individual drills and we're seeing some guys move around, they're, receivers catching passes is right in front of us, which is nice. Everyone gets distracted by the shiny objects, aka the football and Debo catching it. They go through all these, I call them like mixed individual skill drills, right? So instead of being by position group, before they even got into indie, as they call it, individual group drills or individual position drills, they are working on just basic fundamentals, catching the football, running around different stuff, running through contact. So if you're playing on special teams or you're offense or defense and you're in a position to potentially carry the football, aka you could get an interception, you could be a receiver, you could be a running back, you're a quarterback, you're going through actually I don't think the quarterbacks did, but everyone else is going through these basic fundamentals of catching, running, throwing, or catching, running, tackling for the special teams guys, etc. So get through that. Get through the position drills. 7-on-7. They get in the first, I think it's 2 of the first 3 snaps. Jaden's picked off. Because balls go through, on one, ball goes through Michael Gallup's hands. Another one, Michael Gallup slips coming out of a route. Now, Gallup had a couple of other nice plays later in practice. Also, some of you just remember that Michael Gallup is on the team. But he's Jaden hits Gallup on a inbreaker, and it pops off his hands, pops up in the air. Jeremy Reeves gets a pick, and then really nice play by Trey Amos on a second play where the ball on this one, Gallup slipped, and it gets right to Amos, but he finishes the play, and you see the ball skills, you see how he's able to react to it, and that kind of kickstarted what I think was a very nice day for Trey Amos. If I take anything out of today, and again, it's within the context that it's one practice, and I think they practice again tomorrow. We're just not out there, and for all I know, tomorrow Trey Amos is going to get his butt handed to him because he's a rookie, and sometimes that happens. But the way he moved, the way he adjusted to the physicality, and again, it's no pads today, but there's some other guys that you just see, like KJ Osborne's able to just power through the threes. You're out there against some undrafted free agent who doesn't know what's about to hit him, and KJ Osborne is crushing it. And I'm standing there with Logan watching practice, and Logan's like, you gotta take that with a grain of salt. He's like, when I used to go against the threes, I loved this time of year because I would just destroy rookies who have never played NFL football. They don't really, it's not even that they're not strong enough. They don't understand what they can and can't get away with yet. There's refs out there, and there were no flags thrown today. There's one play that Actually, Sainer still had a nice PBU, but I think earlier in the play he probably should have gotten a hold. Nice route by Jaylen Lane to cross his face, and then Mikey does a good job of getting back at it. Throw is also a little bit late from Sam Hartman, but, Mikey gets a hand on it, makes a good play on the ball. And it's like, how do you count that? Good play, Jaylen Lane. Good play, Mikey Sainer still, but also potential penalty. But, like, you don't know what you can get away with as a defensive back, especially. And so you see guys get torched a little bit. What else? Yeah, so Trey Amos almost had a second pick where he was playing outside against Debo, and he kind of sits perfectly where he's supposed to in the coverage. And Hartman throws a little bit outside, and Amos is able to break on the ball. They really were trying to get Debo the ball a lot. Now, I don't know whether he's just quarterback friendly or that was by design. Like, hey, we're trying to throw this slant. We're trying to throw this, we're trying to throw this, that. But Debo certainly was getting a lot of balls today from multiple quarterbacks as they do their stuff where it's not like the ones are all together all the time. It's like, oh, here's one receiver group that's going to take a snap, rotate out. Now it's second receiver group is now with Jaden. And then, quarterback eventually changes out. Now you got the one receivers, the 3 tight end, and, the first quarterback. Like, it's kind of funky how they do it. But Trey Amos, again, really, really nice. Luke McCaffrey, by the way, also wearing number 11 now. Jeremy Chin vacated the 11, and Luke switched to 11. Anthony, thoughts?
I like the 12, man. I like the 12. I don't know if I like him in the 11.
But, hey, if he produces in 11, we'll love him in 11. He had a play where, had a really nice fight through Carlin Vigors, the undrafted free agent corner. Like, Vigors was pretty physical and was able to, get some hands on Luke, and probably is a hold or a PI on Vigors. But Luke just, fights him off at the last second, comes down with the ball. So that was really nice. One of Jaden's last reps of the day, he had Luke in 2 minutes for a touchdown, and he overthrew him. So, dang, on that one. Jayden looked kind of mad that he didn't get another rep. So I don't know what the time score situation down distance was. But it seemed like he wanted another crack at it, and DQ was like, nah, you're done. Speaking of Jaden, something else that's, actually important, as long as it holds up through the regular season, which I would assume that it would. His command is crazy. And I know it's May. It's a 2-minute drill, 7-on-7. There's not even a lineman out there. But, the speed at which he was getting plays off in 2 minutes and how he's able to get guys lined up and the confidence with which that's all done, it's so high. It's so good. You can't do it better. Now, again, it's May. What does that mean when the bullets are flying for real and there's guys trying to take your head off and the clock is really ticking and all that kind of stuff? I don't know what it means, but it's better than if he stunk at it in May. And so his comfort level in the offense, his command of the offense in year 2, I mean, he kind of showed it last year. We were just like, man, this guy's on top of everything. Just to see just how crisp it is, it was really special and really nice. And that was one of the bigger takeaways that I think actually matters on some level for me today. The only thing I had written down, cornerback alignment. Obviously, Lattimore's not there, but Sainer still was in the slot mostly today. So I think that is probably going to be where he goes. But then again, Amos is going to have to win that job outside. So we'll see. The cross-training was going to happen. I'm not reading too much into it. But I also think it confirms what we all thought, which is that their ideal is that Mikey is their starting slot. Amos is on one side, and Lattimore obviously is on the other. So that's what I wrote down in my notes, Anthony. That's the training camp notebook unloaded.
I'm excited. Trey Amos having a good day, or seemingly having a good first day. I think that's pretty cool. And then also just being able to, tips and overthrows. I understand, Michael Gallup fell out of his cut or the ball went through his hands, but the fact that the defense is alert and that we're capitalizing on, those opportunities, those are called ops. So as long as you're capitalizing on those, I think it will be good. So,
what was cool too is they actually did a tipped ball. It was part of that, everybody does it period that I was talking to you about. They had this drill where a coach, let's say you're throwing the ball to me. We're both coaches. and then the players are behind, you throw the ball to me, I tip it up in the air behind me, and then the players have to react to it.
Yeah.
They literally practiced a tip ball drill, and then they got a pick in 7-on-7 on like the second or third play from Jaden Daniels off the hands of Michael Gallup. All right, that is what happened at OTAs today. Coming up at 4:45, I talked with Commanders rookie wide receiver Jaylen Lane about his first day in front of us, at least. He's been obviously there over the last couple of weeks since being drafted. Talked about growing up as the son of a coach and all kinds of other fun stuff. But coming up next, the other big story in the DMV today is stretching the boundaries of the DMV. We're going to include Baltimore, which is always a controversial take. But the Mystics are playing in Baltimore because they're playing the Fever, and they needed the bigger arena. And then Caitlin Clark got hurt and is not going to play. How big of a deal is this for the W as we watch this tonight? We'll talk about that before we get to Jaylen Lane. And then Mitch is going to join us coming up, as in Mitch Tischler, is going to join us coming up at 5 for Not My Beat. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, and we're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Back to Commanders OTAs in about 10 minutes. My chat with Jaylen Lane, the Commanders rookie receiver, from after practice today. Then we will talk to Mitch Tischler coming up at 5 o'clock. I literally, as I was walking out of the media annex today, was like, hey, what are you doing at 5 o'clock? And he's like, I will be driving to Baltimore for the Fever Mystics game tonight. And I was like, would you like to be entertained on your drive by me asking you football questions? And he said, yes. Yes, I would. So Mitch Tischler, who might be listening right now, laughing at me recounting the story, is coming up at 5 o'clock. However, first, we're going to talk about the thing that Mitch Tischler is going to see, which is the Fever, which is supposed to be Caitlin Clark and friends taking on the Mystics. And Anthony, I don't know if you've heard, but Caitlin Clark has a quad strain, is going to be out 2 weeks, and thus the whole WNBA is actually going to stop playing. It's just going to cease to exist if you ask the dumbest people on the planet. I'm not going to lie and pretend like this isn't a huge bummer, but of course it is. If LeBron James or Jaden Daniels or pick your star in any sport gets hurt, it stinks if you have a ticket, right? Like if you were going to see the Lakers and the Wizards and you were going, I don't know if you're a lifelong LeBron James fan, Anthony Haney, can you put yourself in that situation? Could you possibly imagine that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad that you're playing yourself in this movie.
Glad.
If you were going to see the Lakers and all of a sudden the game before LeBron got hurt, like you probably want to sell your ticket. You'd be pretty bummed out. And that's not to undermine exactly the nature of how I'm sure plenty of people that wanted to go see Caitlin. I feel bad for folks in Baltimore who were like really excited this game was coming to them. Obviously, the game being moved to the bigger arena, to CFG Bank Arena tonight because Capital One Arena is under construction. Jim Van Stone, the president of Monumental, who we're going to have on the show next week, the president of their business side, said that the Mystics, maybe as soon as next year, are going to play at least 12 games at Capital One Arena once this summer's renovations can't happen with fans there. But maybe as soon as next season, with the other renovations that are going to be happening, the Mystics are going to be playing a ton more games at Cap One. But the people that are freaking out like that the league is going to cease to exist because Caitlin Clark is going to miss 2 weeks, like that's obviously an over-exaggeration to an extreme. I will say if she misses the game against the Chicago Sky, that is an enormous bummer because that game, Anthony, against Angel Reese and the Sky is 8 p.m. Saturday night CBS. So we're talking primetime network television. And Caitlin is going to miss that game. And this is why the NBA came down really, really hard a couple of years ago and legislated that players had to play primetime games if they were healthy. Like, hey, if I'm ABC and if I've got a LeBron versus Steph matchup, and then all of a sudden LeBron is missing. LeBron's a bad example because LeBron wasn't as bad about this as other stars. And he kind of wanted to play in this stuff. He hates load management. Who's someone who's real bad about it? I mean, Kawhi was. But like Kawhi also, the Clippers were trying to make sure that his knee didn't explode. So his was more legit, I think, than a lot of other stars.
Embiid.
Sure. Let's say Embiid, it's a LeBron Embiid matchup. Lakers, Sixers 2 years ago when Embiid's on his way to MVP. And Joel is like, they're playing a back-to-back Friday, Saturday, and you sit the primetime Saturday night ABC game. Like, no.
Didn't he do that when they played the Nuggets? I think they were supposed to play the Nuggets in primetime. He didn't play.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, his knee's been so bad that, like, I could believe anything that, like, he woke up in the morning on the wrong side of the bed and his knee was jacked up and he couldn't play that night. Like, he's in a bad way. Like, he needs major surgery, I think, and major recovery, and hopefully we get to see. I mean, the last time Joel Embiid was healthy, he was the best player on the planet. Like, the numbers he put up were literally, like, Wilt Chamberlain-level numbers. Like, it was crazy, the run he was on, and then he just fell off a cliff. And maybe that's been his entire career, is like he's always been a ticking time bomb. And the fact that he's made it into his 30s might be a small miracle, considering how his career started. But anyway, not to get too sidetracked on Joel Embiid, like, the leagues do everything possible to mitigate marquee matchups not having marquee players. But at the end of the day, like, it's sports. These things happen because these things happen. You can't. Caitlin Clark has never missed a game in college, never missed a game in the W until tonight. This will be her first ever missed game. And so what I don't want to do is downplay how much it stinks for all of us that were looking forward to watching, for anybody that was planning on going. If you're, someone in the DMV who's a huge Caitlin Clark fan, or whose kid's a huge Caitlin Clark fan, and you're going to be robbed of seeing her play, that stinks. I really wanted to see how Sonia Citron played against her. Like, I'm still looking forward to seeing how Sony does against Kelsey Mitchell, who's an all-star guard, and, like, it's still a great challenge. This Indiana team, even without Caitlin, is still a top half team in the WNBA. They're really, really good. But it's also not like a catastrophe beyond epic proportions that some people who their entire view of the W is just Caitlin Clark's existence. Those people, whatever. I think the more interesting thing, frankly, is from a basketball standpoint, like, the Fever have the Mystics twice. I believe the Connecticut Sun, who are now 0-5 after they got housed last night by Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings, who were previously defeated. That's Becker's first professional win. And they also have Chicago, who hasn't won a game yet. So if you're Indiana and you're trying to fight with the New Yorks of the world and the Minnesota Lynx of the world, who were undefeated at 5-0 after they got another win last night over Seattle, how do they hold up from a basketball standpoint? And obviously, how does this affect Clark's run at MVP? If she misses 4 games, like, it's not going to hurt that much. But if she misses more than that, then now we're starting to really hurt the case in a 44-game season, where you're missing close to 10% of the games, because that's how the maths. Then again, if Nafisa Collier is going to average 40 or 30, 32 a game or whatever she's averaging, like, it's not going to matter because she's going to win the MVP.
Yeah, Fee definitely looks like she wants that MVP award at the end of the season. But I think, to your point about Caitlin Clark missing time and, fans going out to see her, like, it is a huge bummer. But at the same token, especially if you're a Washington Mystics fan, like, I think we have some young rookies that are very exciting to see. So I think, you might not get to see Caitlin, but there are other players around the W that
Mystics are worth watching every night, man. Like, Citron and Iriafin are good. We also might, for the first time this season, get to see essentially what is a fully healthy squad. Obviously, Georgia Haymore being out for the season stinks, and they miss her for sure, even though she was going to be a rookie, / is a rookie. But if Kira is good to go, Shakira Austin looks like she's going to be okay with a concussion. She makes her re-debut tonight. You get her, Aaliyah Edwards, and Brittany Sykes on the floor for the same time, or at the same time for the first time all year. Like, now let's see what this team is. So it's gonna be a fun night in Baltimore. They have New York on Thursday. They're at Indiana again this weekend, and then New York on Friday, Indiana again this weekend, and then back home against the Liberty again next Thursday. When we get back, Jaylen Lane, Virginia Tech receiver turned Commanders rookie. I talked to him after practice today. You'll hear that conversation here on the Hoffman Show. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Pick 6 at 6 will feature Dan Quinn. It will feature Cliff Kingsbury. It will feature Jaden Daniels, maybe some Tyler Biotish as well coming up a little bit later. Again, we'll talk to Mitch Tischler coming up at 5 o'clock for Not My Beat. Right now, though, had the chance earlier today after Commanders practice to talk with rookie wide receiver Jaylen Lane. For those that are watching on YouTube, it's an audio-only interview, so you'll get to see a fancy graphic instead of the actual video. That was just kind of the way the day went. But great chat with Jaylen, and here it is here on the Team 980. With Jaylen Lane after his first professional days of phase 3 of OTAs. It's weird because it's like the first day for us, but what's it been like for you being out here the last couple of weeks since you've been drafted, rookie minicamp, and then out here today?
Yeah, it's been real cool. Like, you can tell here in Washington, it's a special place, a lot of special people here, and, just a lot of great people to be around, and, I'm excited to get to work with the vets and, all the guys that's here, and it's been a great few weeks.
How different is the speed of the tempo compared to, say, rookie minicamp when the vets are out here?
I mean, I say, like, there's a lot more communication going on, a lot more, flying around stuff because, like, everybody's confident. They've been doing it forever. And so you can see that from the defense and, just from an offensive standpoint, it's a lot more communication. It's just that. And, the more you communicate, the faster you can play.
So Clover, South Carolina's very own, the 864. Love to see it. You grew up, obviously, I think a lot of people that followed your story, especially learned about your story after the draft, know your dad was a coach. Yep. How did him, before we ask about the football part of it, how did him being a coach impact like how he was as a dad and kind of how you grew up? That whatever coaching stuff, you just look at him or you look back at it and you're like, oh yeah, that was coach coming out.
Nah, facts. I feel like it would have been worse if I played quarterback. But he tried to keep family time away from football as much as possible, mainly because my mom didn't want to hear all that at the dinner table. But, there'd be certain times where we just competing regularly. I'm like, that's Coach Lane instead of Pops. So, yeah.
And then what was it like to play for your dad as a player, having him as a coach?
Yeah, while I was playing for him, it was great, just because, he was on me hard. He's pushing me, and, he's being harder on me than any of my other teammates just because, he don't want to give the impression that, he's just starting because his dad's the coach. But, he made me earn everything, and I feel like, him being like that on me early on helped me get to where I'm at today. With
Jaylen Lane here on the Hoffman Show. So because I'm sure there's that moment where you're trying to figure out like, okay, am I playing because that's my dad, or am I pretty good at this? Like, when did you know like, oh yeah, I'm a really good football player?
I think it was a 7-on-7. South Carolina, you do 7-on-7s all summer. It was actually at Burns High School. It was the last play. I can't remember who we were playing. Last play of the game. They threw up a jump ball. I lost like 5 people. And, I'm standing like 5'6" in high school, and I just made a crazy play. Everybody was hyping. That was like kind of like the moment. I was like, oh, yeah, like, I'm pretty good at this.
That's nice. So you eventually wind up at Middle Tennessee State. I went to Middle Tennessee State for 2 years because they have a great music engineering program, and that's what I thought I wanted to do until I started doing this. Yeah. Why did you go to Middle Tennessee State?
Man, I was kind of under-recruited coming out, and, Middle Tennessee came late. And, Coach Stock was there. He was a really good dude. Just loved the way he carried himself. And, I saw what he was doing with the team. And, I decided to go there.
And then at what point did you know that, okay, there might be more out there for me? I mean, transferring is just a thing that a lot of kids are doing now. It's a totally different world, whether it's NIL or opportunity, whatever it is. So what was that for you that made then the opportunity first to leave and then why Virginia Tech?
I'd say, I wanted to be able to prove that I could play, at a higher level. I didn't want that to be a question, me going into, getting drafted and stuff like that. And, I saw the opportunity there with the transfer portal, and, Tech was kind of one of the first teams to hit me up. And, who wouldn't want to play in that atmosphere first off? And, I got a lot of great coaches there, and, it felt like, helped me get where I'm at today. So I feel like it was a great decision.
Yeah, for sure. With Jaylen Lane here on the Hoffman Show. By the way, did you see that Metallica performed live down there the other day?
Yeah, I was so jealous I didn't get to go, man. They said it caused like a mini earthquake when they played Enter Sandman. So I was like, yeah, that's crazy.
If I had told you like back in high school, hey, you're really going to want to go to a Metallica concert one day, would you have been like, no, I don't?
I would have said, who was Metallica? I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
So what was it like the first time you came out and like you got to experience that live?
Dude, it was like just everything felt like slow motion. I still remember it so vividly. It's just butterflies, chills, all of the above. And, it's something that, you never want to take for granted. Yeah.
You mentioned, since you've been here, you can tell it's a special place. What are some of those early, stories, early impressions, early things that stand out of why you felt that way and why you feel that way?
I mean, I think in the locker room, you get the vibes of a college locker room. Like in college, you're around the guys all the time. You're probably living with some of them, things like that. But like here, I really didn't know what to expect. But, you got dudes joking around. They got a hoop in there. And, it just feels like a real brotherhood. And, I think that stands out to me.
You walk around this locker room, looking over your shoulder, and Bobby Wagner's here. Like, he's gonna have a gold jacket one day, which is neat. What was it like to all of a sudden you walk in though, and you're probably watching Jaylen last year do what he's doing on TV. You see a guy like Bobby Wagner. We all watched Bobby growing up. So what's it like to see that guy 3D in the flesh, and how do you treat those early interactions?
I think it's very surreal. One, because obviously you see him on TV and you know what they've done and where they're gonna end up in the Hall of Fame, but also just how down to earth everybody is. I meet Bobby for the first time coming in, dapping me up, talking to me like, I'm like, dang, this is Bobby Wagner. But, and then, like, same with Zach Ertz, Terry, everybody, everybody's like that. And, I think it just speaks to, what the coaches and the higher-ups here are trying to do, and just the kind of brotherhood and bond we got.
Last thing for you, obviously you and Debo, similar roles, skill sets, whatever in this offense, however you want to phrase it. Yeah. But what have you been able to pick up from him so far, and, how much you kind of watching him to say, okay, let me see how he goes about his business. Let me see how he does these things specifically to know that you can better your game.
Yeah, Debo, he's from South Carolina too, so we kind of got like a little connection there. And but he's just how he carries himself. He's born to be a leader, and he's just very what's the word, technical and very attention to detail. Detail oriented. That's what I'm looking for. And you can see that in the way he practices and the way he does routes on air, whatever the case may be. So him, Noah Brown, Terry, all great guys to for me to come in and watch and learn from.
Jaylen Lane with us here on the Hoffman Show. Jaylen, welcome to DC and good luck.
Appreciate you.
That's my chat with Jaylen Lane from earlier today at OTAs. I also chatted with Mitch Tischler earlier today at OTAs. During practice, we were chatting, and then as we were leaving, I said, hey, do you want to come on at 5 o'clock? He said yes. It's almost 5 o'clock. Time for Not My Beat. Mitch Tischler joins us next on The Hoffman Show. Coming up 1 hour from now, Pick 6 at 6, you'll hear from Dan Quinn and more after day 1 of Phase 3 of OTAs. Right now, time to talk about it more, though, with someone who I spent part of that practice with. It's time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Mitch Tischler, co-host of the Beltway Football Podcast from Monumental Sports, of course, alongside JP Finley. Mitchell, hello again.
How you doing, Craig? You guys can play me in with a Beachy anytime. That gets me fired up.
Nice. Add the air horns to it next time, Anthony, and we got our own Mitch Tischler remix, which is really what this show's about, is making sure our guests feel nice, comfy, and at home. By the way, how terrible is your drive to Baltimore? Because my drive back in the office from Ashburn was absolutely terrible.
Oh, I mean, this is going to take me 3 hours. It's a disaster.
Yeah, instant traffic. Just add water, and that is the day we are having in the DMV. Of course, Mitchell be up there tonight. The Fever and Mystics. You can hear the Monumental Sports broadcast simulcast here on the Team 980. However, Mitchell, talking football now and what we saw today. Speaking of a sad Mitch Tischler, how sad were you that the O-line, D-line drills were as far away from us as the media as you could possibly imagine?
I took it as a personal affront that they wouldn't let me get up close and personal with the O-line and D-line with the big guys over there. But from afar, I could use my 2020 long-term vision and get a couple glimpses of what was happening over there. And it was good to see Josh Connerly out there running around. It was good to see Brandon Coleman working a little bit at guard over there, and seeing those guys do what they do.
I was going to say, so what did you see? I also tried to watch a little bit over there, but ultimately defaulted to the things that were mostly happening in front of me. Obviously, we only got 7-on-7. There's no 11-on-11. There's no pads. But what did you see, even in just terms of where everybody's working with Connerly, with Coleman, with that offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, certainly one thing that stands out, and it's a Dan Quinn staple, is those rookies don't necessarily get those first team reps. They don't necessarily get the reps. And let's be honest, we're at an OTA here. There's no pads. For O-line, it's mostly, hand placement work and foot placement and steps and all those different things. They don't get into a whole lot of lining up 5-on-5 and doing a whole lot. So you're really kind of trying to read who's lining up next to who in the two-man drills. And Brandon Coleman spent a lot of time over there playing guard, both on the left and the right side, but more so on the left side there. And you saw Trent Scott getting those first team left tackle, what seems to have been first team left tackle reps, with Wiley getting the quote unquote first team right tackle reps. Now, obviously Connerly got plenty of work in there as well. But one thing I love to see, and anyone who played freshman high school football went through it, but when it was Wiley's turn to go in the one-on-one drills, he was up against Josh Connerly, who was holding the pads for him. When they were doing the double team work with, guard and tackle, you saw Connerly having to hold the pads for what we, would assume are the starters or the guys who would be getting the first team reps work. So it was, there's not a ton that you can take away from O-line here when they're running around in shorts and a T-shirt. And, I don't like that I didn't see Laramie Tunsil there a lot. Obviously, it's voluntary. He can skip it all he wants. For these guys who are new to the team, I'd like to see them spend more time around the team, get to know everybody. All that being said, they have, tons of work coming up between, the mandatory camps and when we get to training camp, and obviously through the season to get all that stuff worked out. And because they're just in shorts and a T-shirt, it's not the end of the world that he wasn't there.
So I agree on the Tunsil part of it. Like you like to see everybody there. Like being there is better than not being there. How much does it actually move the needle in the fall? I don't think that much for a guy like Tunsil. Same thing, frankly, for Lattimore and for Terry McLaurin. That said, Mitchell, one of the things I have spent mental energy thinking about today and a little bit of time on the show today is thinking like, okay, well, why are they not there and what's it going to take to get them there? Do you foresee any kind of contract shenanigans with Marshawn Lattimore or Laramie Tunsil? Or are these just vets who are like, this is voluntary, I don't want to go?
It's kind of tough to speculate on that because for all we know, there was a wedding, there was a graduation, a birthday, or, whatever may be happening in those guys' lives. And it is voluntary, so I don't want to really go too far down, that matrix. To me, when we get to the mandatory minicamp in 2 weeks, if those guys aren't there, then I think we have to kind of start asking real questions. Laramie Tunsil, if he wants a new contract or wants more, money, he's at least proven it on the football field that he deserves it. Certainly not in the burgundy and gold yet, but we've seen it over the years from him. He's a star player. Marshawn Lattimore has no leg to stand on, no pun intended, when it comes to, trying to ask for more money or a different contract or guaranteed money. I mean, quite frankly, you and I talked about it a little on the sideline, but heading into the draft, there are needs across this team. This isn't a team that, is purely picking best player available because, they're kind of ready to go with what they got. That cornerback room to me is one of the most troublesome groups on this roster because there's an expectation that Marshawn Lattimore is going to return to his at least Pro Bowl form, or there's a hope there. But if he doesn't, that corner room before Trey Amos came in doesn't have a whole lot of names in there that would inspire confidence for you. And I think when I look at the corner group, if you have a front four that gets after the quarterback really well, maybe you can get away with a little bit of a weaker secondary/corner contingency. But they clearly, put an emphasis on wanting to stop the run, figure out how to be better against the run, which I think is very important. But because of that, the expectation has to be, at least from, the secondary coaches and players, that they're going to have to cover longer. And the fact that corner situation is as thin as it is troublesome. Now, all that being said, Trey Amos, I thought, looked very, very good today. And, as good as you can look in an OTA, I think that he carries himself well. I think you saw some of the traits that this coaching staff wants to see out of him. We saw him with one interception and a second near interception on the sideline. You saw him running step for step with receivers on both deep routes, comebacks, outs, slants, crosses across the board. I mean, I think you saw a lot of what you'd like to see out of a player running around in shorts and a T-shirt in, 7-on-7 drills. But at the end of the day, I'm much more, I would say, maybe worried or frustrated by Lattimore not being there than I am either Terry or Tunsil, for that matter. So it'll be interesting to see when we get to mandatory stuff in 2 weeks where these guys draw the line, if they're even trying to draw a line in the sand, or if we're just reacting to what we're seeing in front of us today.
Mitch Tischler, co-host Beltway Football Podcast, with us. Do you feel like Quinn should have just said something then? Or, sometimes I feel like it's smart for coaches, execs, whoever, to get out ahead of stuff and fill the void that with the truth. That way it's not, everyone's not speculating. Sometimes it's like, whatever, do whatever you want. I don't really care. Like, did Quinn, I don't say do like that feels way too talk radio-y, talk TV, like nonsense to me. But do you think that there is a responsibility to fill the void here, or do we just wait and see what happens and it is what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dan Quinn and honestly this coaching staff have enough equity built in where I don't think we could take them to town for something along this. And at the end of the day, it very well could be much ado about nothing. I mean, once we get to the mandatory stuff, you can kind of start digging into it a little bit more. Could Dan Quinn have squashed it and made it a absolute non-story by saying, whatever the reason was for folks not being there? Sure. But at the same time, the more Dan Quinn talks about it, the more breath he breathes into the story, the more that folks can, pick apart his wording, how he said it, and all those different things and create, make this a bigger deal than it is. Certainly because it happened in front of us today on our first, OTA day, really being out there and seeing the group, I think, it's going to create a little bit of a storyline amongst, media and fans and folks around the league. But at the end of the day, I think we have to, look at this in a bigger picture situation where, this is voluntary. Players do have the option to miss these things. Do we want them there? Sure. But at the end of the day, if the coaches aren't bothered by it, if the coach isn't outwardly bothered by it, then until we start seeing it be, impacting important parts of this offseason, I don't know that we should read too much into it.
I think that's probably right. And I think it also depends on what the truth is. If Tunsil or Lattimore is asking, like if there's a contract situation and I'm Dan Quinn, I don't want to talk about that. So I'm just going, it's voluntary. They don't have to be here. Next question. And you okay. Hey, well, he didn't say whether it was or it wasn't. If they have something that's not contractual and you just know, oh, he's working on his own. It's just this is what he does this time of year. If it's Laramie Tunsil, like I don't mind answering that. I think you have to be flexible with these things. But alas, we wait till next week and maybe we ask Dan specifically why they're not there if they're not there next week. Again, Mitch Tischler is with us, co-host of the Beltway Football Podcast. Amos's big day was definitely the big thing that I walked away with, Mitchell. Was outside of Amos, what was the big story for you today, or the big takeaway that as you're walking to your car through the rain today, that you're like, huh, that was interesting. That's worth chewing on a little bit.
I thought Mikey Sanders still looked fantastic, and it's weird to say that in an OTA, but working mostly out of the slot today, didn't do a whole lot on the outside. He was physical. He was quick. He had a number of PBUs. There was a really nice play with Deebo Samuel running kind of a little square in out of the slot. And Deebo used a little bit of his size. I mean, again, not in pads. So, they're not going, they're not trying to kill each other. But Deebo's a load of a receiver and a big square body. And Mikey did a great job of absorbing the contact and then getting out in front of him and almost having to come back to the ball to break up that little in pattern. And I just, we saw a lot of really good stuff out of Sanders still last year. And I had no doubt that he was going to continue to grow and build and get better as his NFL career continued. But to me, to make a statement like that, in your first OTA, and as those offensive and defensive players like to bark at each other a little bit. And Mikey's not the biggest trash talker in the world, but his play certainly allows some of those other guys to get loud, and it creates great competition, and it's a lot of fun. And quite frankly, it makes everybody better from quarterback to receiver to the defensive side of the ball. So that was great to see.
If you had 10 questions to ask Jayden Daniels, how many of them would you have spent on the size of his arms?
Listen, the Commanders' social media crew did him quite a favor with the picture they put out of him looking huge. And granted, if you were to sit there and flex on him, I bet those biceps pop a little bit. Seeing him in person, he definitely looks a little stronger, a little bit bigger. Certainly below the belt, he looks put together, a little more thick, as the kids like to say. But I don't know that he's this. I don't know that it's this totally transformed body. But I will tell you, coming off of 1 year ago talking about Emmanuel Forbes gaining 17 pounds in the offseason and all of that talk, if you were to tell me that Jayden Daniels gained 17 pounds, I wouldn't question you that much. And so I thought it's good to see that he's clearly putting in the work and trying to grow that body and become a little bit more durable. But Cliff Kingsbury, I think, said it best in that he's still kind of scrawny, and that's just kind of the body shape that he has. Yes, and that didn't stop 85 questions in Jayden's press conference today from being about. Sorry to go back to it, but may I ask another question about if you got jacked or not? Very, very funny. I thought Jayden handled it well, including when he ran away at the end. Right, he's just so cool, calm, and collected. It's part of when we talk about this NFL schedule, big picture with all the primetime games and all that, like. Those are games that, not taking any shots at Kirk Cousins here, but, those are games that not every player always gets up for or is able to handle kind of not just the pressure, but the change in schedule of the week, the later game, the sleep schedule, all those different things that happen. And what we've seen out of Jayden from the time he was drafted until now just further emphasizes the fact that he's pretty unflappable and nothing really gets to him. And, we've seen first-round top 5 draft picks spend off seasons, doing the publicity tours and going on different game shows and missing OTAs and stuff like that because they had photo shoots or commercial spots or whatever it may be. And even though Jayden is the the talk of the town, the toast of the town in the NFL, and you're seeing him, being promoted left, right, and center. He has the Nike commercial. He has, all these things happening for him. Clearly, with the work that he put in the weight room, he's putting in the work. And then the fact that, he's here leading the guys at a, voluntary OTA. It's just, everything about him speaks professional, speaks, NFL, long-term NFL successful storyline. And I think that, as he continues to mature and continue on in his career, he's going to be a discussion point. He's going to be an example of how to carry yourself, how to handle fame, publicity, stardom, all those different things. And I am just beyond thankful that we're talking about him in the burgundy and gold.
Mitch Tischler, co-host of the Beltway Football Podcast, with us here on the Hoffman Show. Mitch, you have covered this team for a long time. You've seen a lot of dudes roll through here. Have you ever seen a big dude who makes other big dudes look small, quite like Javon Kinlaw? Seeing him in person today broke my brain a little bit. Like, I knew he was huge. I knew he was powerful. I knew all that. I knew he moved really well. Seeing it in person was different. Were you also struck by that?
It was both him and Dietrich Wise are enormous human beings. And I had a couple minutes to talk to Dietrich, and he has a heck of a handshake over there. The only other player that really reminds me of like a big guy who makes other big guys look not quite as big was Ty Nseki when he was here
as
the backup.
pull.
But big picture wise, I talked about a little bit with the defensive line. I think that this front office and this coaching staff put a premium on finding big body guys who are going to be able to slow down the run. Because quite frankly, if I find myself in an NFL football game and it's my quarterback against yours, I don't know how many other quarterbacks in the NFL I'm taking over Jaden Daniels. And so as a defense, if you're able to, shut down that run a little bit and you're able to stop the run with mostly the front four, and front maybe six if you include, a couple interior linebackers, that creates a lot of opportunity for a defense to be successful. And while I don't necessarily think that there's a guy that I can pinpoint that's going to have maybe double-digit sacks or, have a big-time breakout season getting after the quarterback, at first glance at an OTA, in shorts and a T-shirt, I think you're looking at a D-line that is going to be much more stout against the run. And I think that's something that this coaching staff wanted to make happen, and they went out and got players to do that.
Next week, back again. Joe Witt Jr. will speak, I believe, next week. And then I think there's one more voluntary. And then, actually, no, it's next week's voluntary, and then the mandatory is coming up mid-June. So when you go back next week, Mitchell, what's the thing that you want to double-click on after getting your first click in this week? What's the thing you're like, I want to watch that thing that I saw a lot more of to try to glean more intel?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of two things. I'll start defensively because we're going to talk to Joe Witt Jr. To me, and maybe I'm too high on Trey Amos. I don't know if that's possible or that's the case, but we've seen these corners in Joe Witt / Dan Quinn defenses, pop almost out of nowhere or a little unexpectedly with interception numbers, with kind of dominance on the outside. And when I look at Trey, when they drafted him to now having seen him play pretty well, obviously in a 7-on-7 scenario, I'm wondering, what they think his ceiling is. Kind of, are they looking at him? Do they think that this rookie season could be a Trayvon Diggs-esque, rookie season where kind of, a little unexpectedly he goes out and competes for the lead in the NFL in interceptions? And how much of a kind of shutdown corner can he be? Because today, more than, you can look at the numbers. Some guys can run real fast, and then when you see them on the field, that speed doesn't always necessarily translate. With Amos, I saw the speed that I wanted to see. I saw the physicality, at least as much as you can show in an OTA there. And I think Joe Witt, I got to believe that Joe Witt and Dan Quinn are pretty excited about it. And then offensive side of the ball, you look at this receiving room, and outside of Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, we can probably nail down a couple other guys that are going to be there. I kind of forgot about Noah Brown. He's been kind of, he's been overlooked since, obviously didn't play the back end of last year, but he's looked, he played really well last year. I think when he got hurt, he led the NFL in pass interference yards against him. He's a guy who did a really good job of going downfield and using his body to either make big catches or get penalties. I look at a Luke McCaffrey who, I think one thing that Cliff Kingsbury talked about was him playing a little bit freer because he can, he knows the offense a little bit better. This wide receiver room is going to be a real battle when we get to training camp. Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne, Ja'Cory Brooks. I mean, there are a bunch of dudes there who, can easily, make rosters. And then on top of it, you have Jaylen Lane, who to me, I think is an interesting player in that I feel like he's almost a little bit of an insurance policy for Deebo Samuel if Deebo ends up walking next year, because what we saw last year from Jaylen at Virginia Tech, I think you can kind of compare to a lot of things that Deebo has done in the passing game in his NFL career. And, I want to see Jaylen Lane's speed. I want to click in a little further and see how crisp those routes are and how he works against either press coverage, against back off man, against zone. I want to see the way that he's able to find openings to get the ball. And then the biggest thing with him is he has the speed on paper. We haven't seen him necessarily be a huge deep threat from college. So I want to see how he tracks the ball on the deep balls. I want to see how he uses his body, to go up and get those 50-50 balls 20 yards down the field, 30 yards down the field, because we know that Jaden Daniels has the ability to make those great throws, but he also has the fearlessness to throw those 50-50 balls and allow his guys to get up and go get it. So Jaylen Lane is really a guy that I want to spend a little more time watching and kind of get a feel for where I think he can fit into this offense, because he can do a lot of different things. And obviously, in the special teams, punt return is going to be a big part of it, but I want to see more speed downfield. I want to see them stretching the field, not just sideline to sideline, but end zone to end zone. And Jaylen Lane, at least on paper with his speed, seems to be the type of guy that can do that.
For sure. There's a couple of routes today where he just ate up ground. You're like, oh, there it is. There's the speed. But doing it against full defenses and with dudes in the way is obviously a very different thing. Mitch Tischler, Beltway Football Podcast. Check it out wherever you get your pods. He and JP Finley. Mitchell, good to see you today, my friend. And I presume I'll see you next week as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Always good to have you. And by the way, safe travels on however much is left in your torturous trip to Baltimore.
Thank you.
It's Mitch Tischler, everybody, on his way to Baltimore here on the Team 980. When we get back, it's a little bit of a switch gears from the football. We'll get back to the football at 6 with a pick 6 at 6. You'll hear from Quinn. You'll hear from Kingsbury. You'll hear from Jaden Daniels. But 5:45, we'll take a look back at the Eastern Conference Finals from last night, our only chance to talk hoops today. And then next, Mike Rizzo was on the Sports Junkies this morning. And if this show is talking Nationals, it's kind of a big deal. Something big must have happened. Ken Rosenthal, one of the premier baseball reporters and writers out there, wrote a piece in The Athletic saying the Nationals have become one of Major League Baseball's bottom feeders. Rizzo responded. You'll hear it if you missed it this morning with the Junks, next on the Team 980. Talk about the Eastern Conference Finals in about 15 minutes here on the Hoffman Show. Back to the Commanders OTAs. Pick 6 at 6 style coming up at, 6 o'clock. Right now, though, I read an article yesterday from Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic that I thought was really one of the more fascinating baseball articles I've read in a while. Not that I read a ton. You guys know, if you listen to the show regularly, like, I do not major in Washington Nationals baseball or in baseball, period. If the Nats were really good, we would do a lot more coverage of them in the same way that as the Capitals made their run in the playoffs, we're going to tap in. We only have so much time and space on the show. And frankly, if you want really good baseball coverage from people that watch it all the time, like, we have other great options on our station and through our company. Grant and Danny do a great job. You got the Bustin' Loose Baseball podcast with Grant and our guy, Toby Altizer. Like, we have great baseball coverage. I'm just not going to be the one that necessarily gives it to you. But I pay attention, and I have the big picture in mind, which is why this article from Ken Rosenthal was so interesting. So Rosenthal, who's been a baseball writer forever, obviously you watch him on Fox. He's got the bow ties. He's been writing in The Athletic for a couple of years now. And he wrote a piece for The Athletic where he basically said there's this group of teams that are bottom feeders in Major League Baseball, and teams like the Pirates, for instance, that they just don't spend a ton of money. Their payrolls are minuscule. They're not competitive. And the Nationals, despite the 2019 World Series, have been bad long enough that we should consider them part of that. That they obviously kickstarted the rebuild a couple of years ago when they traded Juan Soto and Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, and now years later, after saying initially, this will be a quick reboot, a couple of years, 1 year, 2 years, we're now multiple years into this, and there's no end in sight. It's not even that, like, hey, they're still bad now. It's like, how much longer are you going to do it? And in some ways, the impetus for writing this article for Rosenthal is the Major League Baseball draft is coming up here sooner rather than later, and the Nationals have the number 1 pick in it. So he was asking, like, what's the plan? And if we look at the Nationals' next couple of years, do they have a way of being good? And there is, I think, legitimate criticism of the drafting and player development that has happened in D.C. The Nationals, to their credit, have made a bunch of changes in their personnel department to try to be better on the player development side. But I think the biggest thing that I found that was pretty fascinating is this indictment of the Lerners and of Mike Rizzo for not spending money now, but also what seemed like an assurance that none of the good players that the Nationals have now are going to be Nationals in the long term. And that seems totally unfair, but also might be true. And the unfairness might not be in Rosenthal saying it, but might be in the cruel nature of Major League Baseball's system, where you have, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of extreme cost control, no real way, in the same way that you have the franchise tag and bird rights in the NFL and the NBA to retain your own talent. If a guy is hellbent, or his agent is, we'll call him something that rhymes with Schmorris, Scott Boras, if his agent is hell-bent on getting him to free agency, you just kind of have to live with it. And you have to hope that the player either tells Schmorris, no, I like it here and I would like to stay. You get me the most money that you can, or we'll go to the market and then we'll see if we can drive the price up, but I want to go back. Or you lose out on the player. And then you have to make a decision. Are we going to even let that player get to free agency? Because I don't think Juan Soto wanted to go anywhere, but he clearly was willing to go to at least free agency and try to drive up the price. And at that point, the Nationals said, fine, we gave you our best offer. This is all the money that we have, and we're going to get a return for you. And I think what was such a bummer in the piece is that Rosenthal basically says some of those pieces that they get back, as well as guys like C.J. Abrams, are probably going to be in similar boats. And some of them are represented by Scott Boras. So you have guys like James Wood. You have guys like Mackenzie Gore, who are starting to really show promise. Gore leading Major League Baseball in strikeouts this year. And they're just going to be out the door again? That sucks. Why would you ever buy a jersey? And so Mike Rizzo was on with the Sports Junkies this morning, as he is every single week, and wanted to defend some of his record in the midst of this story. First and foremost, the accusation the analysis by Rosenthal that this team has not drafted particularly well as they sit here on the verge of getting the number 1 pick again. Here is Nationals general manager Mike Rizzo.
I guess you could pick at certain draft choices and picks and that type of thing over the last years, and you could find some faults there. But when I look at we've run some of the great players in the game through our system. We've drafted some of the great players ever. We've drafted guys low in the draft that have won Cy Youngs and that type of thing. So there's. I just thought the timing of the article was odd because we were playing good and we really are seeing the fruits of this frustrating rebuild coming to fruition. But I'm still optimistic. The needle of this team and this organization is pointed north, and it's going to continue to do so until we start winning championships, which I think is in the very near future.
That last part feels crazy. You're going to win championships in the near future. I know that there's a lot of dudes coming up. And there's even more making debuts like this month. And guys like Woods and Abrams and Gore are like really starting to come together. And maybe if you get a couple of key veterans in here, maybe you could. So maybe it's not crazy that in 2 years the Nationals are contending, or even next year, if you sign a couple of free agents, you contend for the NL East, and then, game on. Let's see how things go. But to start the season, you had not only the worst bullpen in baseball, but one of the worst bullpens in baseball history. Like, the depth of being a champion is something that this team currently does not have, and the lack of drafting and development of depth seems to be an issue. That said, if you spend some money, you can fix a lot of stuff. And that is where Rizzo went long on the defense of the current status quo.
I mean, ownership is shown that when they feel that we're ready to win, they spend, and I've never had a problem with that. Hopefully that continues, and I think that the day's coming that we're going to be in a position to win, and to show support. That means buying some free agents and that type of thing. But it's also we went for it in a different way back in the first rebuild, and let's not forget we've done this before. Ken and the other journalists can point out the flaws of how we're doing this rebuild. It's taking too long and that type of thing. But the one thing they can point to us and not point to hardly any other teams around is we've rebuilt from the bottom up when MLB owned this thing to winning a championship, and we did it in 13 years from start to a championship. And we're, unfortunately had to rebuild again, and we're rebuilding now. It's taken, it's since the Soto trade, it's been 2-3 years of a rebuild, which is painful, and we all know that. But if Ken or anybody else can't see where this organization is as far as talent base and that type of thing, then I don't know what to tell anybody. That's the fans see it, the players see it, the opposing team, the opposition team sees it, and they see the talent and that type of thing.
And that's where the rubber is ultimately going to meet the road. Like, if next year and even later this year, these players continue to come up and all of a sudden you look around and there's like 7 starters for the Nationals every single day that are guys that either they drafted or were a part of the return of the Soto trade and the Turner trade and the Scherzer trade. And you have these young players that are at the major league level and producing, then, well, it seems like the talent development has gotten a lot better. It seems like maybe they made some right moves, and certainly not that you're 13 years later after the Soto trade, sweet, we finally did it. Because to me, that's actually not even the best piece of evidence. Like, the best piece of evidence is from the time that Rizzo built it up, really from like 2014-ish, 2015-ish on, the Nationals, as Harper and Strasburg got to the big leagues, and you had different pieces that you added and drafted, and guys like Rendon came up. They were competitive for a long time. It culminated in one championship, and then unfortunately it imploded as Strasburg's arm basically fell off, and all the other things that happened. They don't retain Rendon, which turns out to be a blessing in disguise. So you don't go 13 years of building for one championship. It just so happened to turn out that way. But you do go many, many years where you hope to have more years of a championship window than you spent on the building. That is what you're going for. And then you hope that you can maybe even at the end keep that window open longer by making some smart, shrewd moves and or drafting well and keeping your window open versus having to tear it down from scratch again. So the rubber will meet the road here. But I think Rosenthal's piece, if you haven't read it, is worth reading because it lays out the situation where in 3 years where theoretically you're like, all right, time for this team to compete. You're going to have a bunch of these dudes hit free agency, leave, and then you're left just staring empty-handed. And that is the fear, and that is not one, unless ownership spends the money and Rizzo is able to retain these guys, is not a problem that he is going to be able to solve by doing anything other than getting even more talent in here than the talent that is here / shortly on the way from the minor leagues. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And when we get back, Eastern Conference Finals took a turn last night in Indiana's favor behind one of the best playoff performances that I can remember watching. We'll talk about it here on the Team 980. Our Commanders pick 6 at 6 is coming up at, 6 o'clock, which is about 10 minutes from right now. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Last night, Anthony, the Indiana Pacers took a what type of 3-1 series lead? See if you've caught
commanding.
There you go. He has indeed caught on to my bit because there is no other kind. A commanding 3-1 series lead. By the way, today is the 9-year anniversary of Game 6 Clay.
Dang. Well,
Yeah.
he dropped, what was it, 37 in a quarter?
No, that was 37 and a quarter was a regular season game where he set the record, but he did absolutely lose his mind. Of course, the Warriors then lost the championship. Whoopsie daisies on that one. Whatever happened to that Durant fella that he beat in Oklahoma City? Anyway, the point is that the Pacers last night, powered by a truly remarkable game from Tyrese Halliburton, take a 3-1 lead over the Knicks. It was exactly like I thought it was going to be, Anthony, a hard-fought back-and-forth game. It really comes down to the fact that the Pacers made runs at the end of the first 3 quarters. I mean, this game was played at Indiana's pace. It was 43-35 after the first quarter. Indiana crossed the 100-point threshold before the end of the third quarter. And then, even though the Knicks technically won the fourth quarter 30-28, the gap was too big. It doesn't matter. And Halliburton last night, the 32 points are really important. The 15 assists is an unbelievable number to get in a playoff game. He's got 4 steals. He's got 12 rebounds. But, in some way, you can chalk some of that up to the fact that this game had so many more possessions than the average NBA game, right? When you have more possessions and you handle the ball as much as he does, not that he didn't play fantastic ball, and he's one of the main drivers of that pace, but you accumulate more stats. The 30 points per possession wise, 32, is not crazy over his average. But when you have that many possessions, you'd think you'd also have probably more turnovers than usual. Everything goes up. You know how many turnovers Tyrese Halliburton had last night?
A big fat 0.
That is correct. 32, 12, 15, 4 steals, and 0 turnovers. I'm forgetting the threshold for the numbers, but it's something like I think it's the 9th time that he's done it, right? And it's like 30 points, 10 assists, 0 turnovers. Let's pretend those are the thresholds. I don't remember what the actual numbers are, but it's something with 0 turnovers. And he's done it 9 times in his career. No other player, I think the stat was, had done it more than 3. Like, when we debate whether or not, or how high, I'm not even playing into the overrated Halliburton stuff, right? Just generally speaking, is Tyrese Halliburton capable of being the best player on a championship team? His superpower, the thing that he does that separates him from other people that have similar skill sets, is that his ability to control pace, play extraordinarily fast, score, rebound, assist, but not turn the basketball over. And it is, some basketball nerd somewhere in a front office might have the ability to calculate how valuable, that is, but it's hard to quantify because it literally makes everyone else better just by having the ball and a chance to do something good without a guarantee of something bad happening. Because sure, someone else could also turn the basketball over with those extra possessions, but if you've turned it over, is a guaranteed bad thing for your team. And so for the guy that handles the ball the most to be able to dictate play that much at that low turnover rate that's superstar stuff. That is best player on a title team stuff. It's different than a lot of other superstars that we've seen, but to me, that pushes him into a different category. And the fact that he's done it 3 times as much as anybody else and he's like 24 years old or something is just beyond impressive.
It's funny to me that the Pacers are they're the team that's out in front. They have the 3-1 lead, but all everybody can talk about is the Knicks as opposed to glorifying what you're talking about right now in terms of like Tyrese Halliburton. People are still, questioning whether or not, or just questioning how good of a player he is. And they're just like, he's going out there. He got voted most overrated in these playoffs. All he's did was, come up huge for his team in the clutch. Even in the regular season, like, he was huge for his team in the clutch. And a lot of what he did just continues to get overlooked. And I don't truly understand it. But, again, I think it also just speaks volumes to what we have in the NBA in terms of, like, the parity. It's okay to have, 8, 9, 10 good players. Like, we've never had it. It's usually, super top-heavy. But now we're getting to a point in time where we have a lot of good players. Like, can we say Tyrese Halliburton is having a better postseason than Anthony Edwards? And I think Anthony Edwards is the guy that everyone wants to anoint as the face of the NBA. It's a difficult conversation to have, but at the same token, you look at his play, there's merit to the argument. So I salute what the Pacers are doing. They continue to be the underdogs. A lot of people still have Knicks in 7 somehow, some way, based on, how the series has gone. But we'll see. I hope the Pacers end up closing it out.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I would love to see, from a basketball standpoint, the Thunder Pacers. I think it's a really fun matchup. You have a guy in Halliburton who never turns it over versus the ultimate turnover creation defense. Like, that'd be a lot of fun. And, I just think that, Carlisle is such a good coach. I've known that forever. I got to cover him in Dallas when I was down there, and he's with the Mavs. Like, he's brilliant tactically. But he also, I think, has a group of guys that just buy in all the way, and it unlocks the best of his coaching. Halliburton doesn't have a huge ego, but he has the right amount that they're not scared of anybody, and it's just a fun watch last night. It was really good hoop, and I think tonight, Game 5, Western Conference is going to be really fun as well. So very much looking forward to a good evening of hoops. We'll talk about it. Actually, I won't be here tomorrow. I haven't said that on the show yet. But Doc will be in tomorrow, so Anthony and Doc will talk about it, and then we'll see how many series we still got to talk about on Friday if we're previewing the NBA Finals on Friday, Anthony, because that could be a thing. Coming up next, our Pick 6 at 6. That is where we pick the 6 best sound bites / 6 biggest storylines of the day from the Commanders, and we talk about them here on the show. Then coming up at 6:30, Mark Ein, Commanders minority owner and chairman and CEO of the Mudbala City Open, is going to join us. So excited for Ein coming up at 6:30. Final hour next of the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. And it is time for a Pick 6 at 6.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level, and build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
Let's see if we remember how to do this. We got the 6 biggest storylines of the day. We're going to count them up 1 to 6. They're not in any particular order other than this one, because the biggest story of the day was not about who was at OTAs and what we saw at OTAs, but about who wasn't at OTAs.
Number 1.
Dan Quinn asked about the major players who are absent and how he addresses them, how he keeps in touch with them. By the way, if you haven't heard, the major players that were absent were Terry McLaurin, expected as he and the team are actively working on a contract extension. Laramie Tunsil, Marshawn Lattimore, not as expected, at least by us on the outside. So, Dan Quinn, what's up?
What's your approach with that? It's a voluntary situation, but you obviously would like guys here, but it's voluntary. So what's your approach on handling all that?
I think it's not one size fits all for everything, and in my opinion, this has been a fantastic offseason. And it's not just the players, it's also the coaches too, John, to say, can we level up, and to level up, what do you look at? What do you want to change? What do you want to keep the same? And so the offseason's been excellent, and so I've been in touch with every guy on the team, and so I've really enjoyed this time. I also have some, stronger relationships than you did maybe a year ago with everybody being new, and now it's that blend of the year 2 players, to go through with it. It's one of the things I do enjoy about coaching. Like, if you can get to know the man before the ball player, it helps take it and push it a little further. And so for the guys who are the year 1, the new players here, not just a rookie, but a new free agent that may have joined the team, getting to know them and watching them practice today for the first time. Like, you could see guys work hard in the strength and conditioning, but it's another thing to see the speed of processing and on the field. And so today we just did some 7-on-7 and some 2-minute, and then we'll add more team as we go. I like to ramp it up, as opposed to doing everything all at once day 1.
Really did a great job of getting away from the root question there. But it also is a good reminder by the end to say, hey, as we ramp things up, if these guys are back, how much are they really missing? Missing 1 day of 7-on-7 and a bunch of individual drills is not a big deal for a veteran at all. You'd rather have them there, and especially because these are guys that you're hoping are either directly leaders or at the very least setting a good example and something that guys can learn from in the room. Hey, this is how it's done situation for a guy like Tunsil. But alas, this is the reality of business in the NFL. It's not that big of a deal. And the biggest thing is making sure the guys still stay connected, which, for instance, Jaden Daniels is with Terry McLaurin.
Me and Terry got a good relationship outside of football, so, obviously he got to handle what he has to handle, and, but that doesn't change anything. The fact that, he's part of our brotherhood. We know Terry's working and everything, so we got to get better, and he knows he got to get better each and every day.
There's not going to be an ounce of resentment for Terry McLaurin. Now, look, if Marshawn Lattimore, who struggled last year, struggles again this season and is not at any of the voluntary stuff, and especially if it's mental mistakes and missing assignments, could I see a situation where that blows up a little bit more? I guess. Probably. But for a guy like Terry, not a big deal. For a guy like Laramie Tunsil, I find it hard to believe it is going to be a big deal. But we will see. And hopefully it's not a big deal, because hopefully they are not going to miss anything. And if they do, realistically, I don't think it's going to be because they missed May 28th.
Number 2.
As for the new guys getting up to speed on what is happening in this offense specifically, I say offense specifically because Cliff Kingsbury was the coordinator who spoke today. He was asked about, kind of balancing the player egos of, you got guys like Debo and you got Terry still. You got, all these weapons. Zach Ertz is back. How do you balance having all of those different guys with needing to run a functional offense and not so much care about their egos. Funny answer here by Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, I've never had a great player that didn't want the ball, and so that kind of comes with the territory. But that's one thing I think that DQ has created where it's, the team above anything else. And these guys that had their success last year and got their touches, they know bringing Debo in, there's going to be less, but we're going to be better. And I think when they're able to sacrifice for that and understand that the ultimate goal is winning, then it all works itself out. But you want those guys. I mean, they're going to be pissed. I'll get cussed out a few games, but it's just comes with the territory. You'd rather have really good players cussing you out than bad players cussing you out. So,
Anthony, I think we should put that on a T-shirt. Or can we make a sign to hang over my shoulder here that's just like, I would rather be cussed out by good players than bad players. That's how you build a winner.
We can make that happen.
All right. Put it in our very large budget. It's going to be a plain white sheet of paper with very Times New Romany looking. Can we afford a better font at least? Can we make it a cool font? This is stuff that Matt Essig used to do. He'd just hang random stuff around the studio.
I was about to say, this is a Matt Essig assignment.
Call him, see if he'll come back for an afternoon just to print out something on a sheet of paper. We don't need a whole fancy, graphic. We need a plain sheet of paper and a proper thumbtack. As for the man who's in charge of getting all those different people the ball, Jayden Daniels asked as well about implementing some of the new guys when he stepped to the podium this afternoon, specifically about the offensive line. So guys that he doesn't have to get the ball, but are very, very important new additions. Here was Jayden on Tunsil and Connerly, his two new tackles.
Yeah, I mean, those are good additions that we brought in, and obviously what Adam and his side of the building is doing. You got to trust them with everything that's going on. So obviously I'm excited. Those are two great individuals, and we got even more that they brought in. So I'm excited to, get to work with them and still progress and, get ready for camp.
I think perhaps the most important talent situation in the offseason might not be on the field. It's what we're going to talk about next.
Number 3.
Which is that the coaching staff is back in basically full, and especially on the offensive side, including retaining Cliff Kingsbury. Kingsbury speaking for the first time today since he made that decision. And so he was asked directly on why he wanted to come back and, what drew him away from taking a head coaching job this offseason.
Yeah, DQ has created a tremendous culture. The organization has as well, just starting at the top with Josh and then AP, type of people they brought in. So I'm excited to continue to learn from DQ and these other coaches and continue to try to build this thing.
And so back he comes with DQ, with Dan Quinn, another year, obviously, of being Jayden's, head or offensive coordinator. Probably doesn't hurt your head coaching prospects. How important was it for Quinn to bring everybody back? DQ asked about that today as well.
It's a really big deal. And that's why I did lead off with that intentionally, because I don't think we've got a chance to really talk about that as much as I thought we would, because looking back for me, it's pretty rare. And we've also added in Brian Schneider, somebody that I've had some experience with, who is also another true heavy hitter on the special team side. But I guess it fast tracks some of the things that we understand, but it also allows us probably to get a little deeper, than we were in year one, to get closer, better understanding of one another, and that's been a big deal for me. So year one to year two for a player is big. For coaches, it's big too. And so, I really appreciate that.
Dan, Cliff, the Commanders, back at work today. That is the front half of our Pick 6. 3 more storylines with plenty more from Quinn, Cliff, and Jayden Daniels. Next, here on the Hoffman Show, here on the Team 980. But first, the latest from the world of women's sports, presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you want it at Wawa, with customizable roasted and crispy chicken sandwiches. Commanders minority partner Mark Ein joining us at 6:30 here on the Hoffman Show. We continue, though, right now with our pick 6 at 6 on the day that OTAs open to the media. It's phase 3 of the Commanders off-season program, actual football practices, kind of 7-on-7, etc. It's also our first chance to talk to especially the veterans. And there was one question on everyone's mind when it came to Jayden Daniels.
Number 4.
Hey, bro, you lift? Seriously, Jayden was asked a lot of questions, and all of his teammates and coaches were asked a lot of questions about whether or not Jayden Daniels is bigger now after that jacked photo we saw of him with the SpongeBob meme on social media. Start off with Dan Quinn and his answer. Does Jayden look different physically?
Gotten in the weight room? We haven't got side by side in the mirror or anything, but he's doing great. Honestly, I don't know what else to share with you about that. He's at the right markers that we want him to be. So he and all the guys have certain weight and body composition that they're all hitting for. So for him, he's in the space that he wants to go.
So Dan Quinn, hey, Jayden's doing what we want him to do. He's where he's supposed to be. Great. Then there was Cliff, who was asked about, what Jayden, what he looks like. Is he bigger? Here's Cliff Kingsbury.
I mean, I think he's still pretty lean, but he's definitely worked really hard at his fitness in the weight room, and I mean he's here early and stays late and does all the things, so I'm sure I haven't seen his weights, but I'm sure that he's a little bit thicker than he was.
Cliff kind of in denial mode, and then there was Jayden, who was incredibly uncomfortable, and literally on the last question of the press conference was asked more specifically, like, how much do you weigh? How much weight did you put on? And ran out of the room laughing and refusing to answer. But earlier, he was asked about if there was a concerted effort about bulking up in the offseason.
Nah, I was just working out. It wasn't like I need to eat this amount much. Nah, it was just go out there, have a plan, and, naturally just put on weight.
This whole thing is so funny to me. It is, it's obvious he's bulked up a little bit. He's just thicker. His lower half, his trunk, his arms are definitely a little bit bigger. But he was pretty string beanie last year, and he survived the year relatively just fine. He's also getting older. This is what happens. Guys spend more time in the weight room. Their body finishes maturing. For males especially, your puberty, yes, starts in your teens, and you're through most of it by the time you're through college. But, your body doesn't stop really changing until 25, and then it starts changing in a different way as everything just goes downhill, unless you're a professional athlete and working out all the time. The point is that it's obvious that Jayden is doing stuff intentionally because that's his job. And the discomfort for everybody talking about it in their own way of Dan just being like, yeah, this is part of the job. Jayden being like, I don't really want to talk about it. It just kind of happened. And Cliff being like, I don't know, he still looks skinny to me is... to me, I find it all humorous, but it was the story of the day out in Ashburn.
Number 5.
Story number 5 for us in our pick 6 at 6. What do we want to see better in year 2, especially from the offense with Jayden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury? Let's start off with Daniels and how he thinks his relationship with Kingsbury can grow this season.
Just transparency and stuff like that. This is what I was comfortable with. This is what he likes, and how can we find a middle ground to obviously expand the playbook and still have our core plays.
So excited to look at the playbook and do a little bit more. Obviously they're more comfortable with each other this year. There's probably going to be even more discussions, but I feel like they had a great relationship last year for sure. As for where Cliff wants things improved, he didn't necessarily go specifically to Jayden, and in fact went to something that Jayden was really good at last year. Jayden was excellent, especially for a rookie, in protecting the football, both fumbles and interceptions, but down the stretch, we know that was a problem for the Commanders for some other players.
Yeah, I thought, ball security ultimately kind of was our Achilles heel late in the season. Had a bunch that we can't do if you really want to be one of those elite teams. And so I think that's an area that we'll harp on all offseason and try to be better protecting the football.
And that starts now. It starts with ball security drills and all of those things that we saw today. They spend so much time this part of the year on fundamentals, and that's great. I mean, I feel like back in the Rivera era and to an extent the Gruden era, I'm trying to remember, they all blend together eventually. It's just like OTAs of years past. But it just kind of felt like a regular season practice. There is a distinct ramp in how Quinn periodizes the season. And it is so much more fundamentals work now of just like, let's get back to basics. Let's do all of the basic things that we need to do that set the foundation for who we want to be. And I think that matters. Like, you don't, as an NFL player, you don't work on ball security as often once you get in the season. And you don't work on it probably at all on your own. You're busy trying to level up. And so it's kind of on the coaching staff to establish the baseline. And I think this staff does a really, really good job of that. And, you know, preaching it, not just preaching it, practicing it as well is the way that is going to be effective.
Number 6.
Last but not least, funny exchange, but also a meaningful exchange here between ABC 7's Scott Abraham and the head coach, Dan Quinn.
Hi, Dan. You know, last year you guys were kind of like the hunters. Now this year,
we're always the hunters.
Okay.
We're not. No, go there. I know I'm cutting you off right before you get started.
Okay.
Yeah. That way we don't have to get into. Are you the hunter or the hunted? Like, we are always the hunters.
Explain that then, because you've had a lot of success last year.
I knew where you were going with that. And I like it. I'm glad.
And in a sense, you know, last year you were one game away from going to the Super Bowl. So obviously the bar has been raised. Teams below you are looking at trying to knock you guys off in a sense. So that role reversal of how this team is going to handle success, what does that look like to you?
So we've got a lot to prove, and so for us, that is what the hunting is. It's not something that's going to be on at the end of the season. It's right now about these next 3 weeks. We've got a couple weeks OTAs and a mini camp, and it's like absolutely going after it as hard as we can to see how good we can get, and then we'll worry about training camp. But the hunter is a mindset. It's an attitude of absolutely delivering and going for it. But that's who we are, and that doesn't change on anything, you know, done previously. It's just how we get down.
I cannot express to you how much I love that. Like, I'm the most excited, just jacked up, ready to go, ready to run through a wall that I've been all day. Football practice is boring. It's cold. Not cold, but it's gloomy and gray and rainy. And now Dan Quinn's got me all fired up, ready to go hunting. Like, this is absolutely the correct mentality. Like, we don't change who we are. We don't change because we've had success. We got here by thinking of ourselves in a certain way. And it's important to say, like, we're the hunters, not like, not because it's not denying the reality that you're now one of the favorites, that you had success. It's just like, yeah, we had success by hunting, so we're going to keep hunting. You know, the lion or the tiger or whatever king of the jungle animal you want to pick, that is one of the hunters in the wild, just because they catch their prey doesn't mean they stop hunting. And that is the mentality that they're taking into hunting getting better, hunting success again. Like, I genuinely love that back and forth. By the way, I thought Scott did a great job of handling what he could have turned into, even accidentally, an awkward situation there too. But I thought he did a good job of reframing and asking the question. But it's a phenomenal answer by Quinn. It's exactly who he is. It's so authentic. And that's how you get the best out of your players, by truly being yourself and selling a story that is believable, that they can buy into. And that becomes, you know, narrative becomes reality. That's really good stuff there from DQ. And I think it fits this team very well. That is our pick 6 at 6 here on the Hoffman Show. Biggest storylines, best sound of the day on days where we have lots of news and sound from Ashburn. Next OTA period, next Wednesday. And we will probably be out there again. And certainly we'll be giving you the best sound of the day next week, same time, same place. Tomorrow on the show, don't forget, Doc Walker will have his thoughts on what's going on this offseason with the Commanders. I'm out tomorrow, be back on Friday. But before we wrap up this edition of the Hoffman Show, Mark Ein, Commanders minority partner, with us here on the Team 980. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, and we stream on YouTube as well at the Team 980, where you see Mark Ein is with us, the chairman and CEO of the Mubadala City Open, coming back to DC this July. Of course, he is also a partner with the Washington Commanders. We'll talk about a little bit of both. But Mark, welcome to the show. Great to see you.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let's do the Commander stuff off the top, and then I am a huge tennis fan, so I'm very excited to talk tennis. Obviously, most people in the audience know you. Probably they know the City Open. It's been a DC institution for a long time, but we're very Commanders heavy show. I just want to ask you, like, very broadly, when you got into this with Josh, who you. And you see the totality of what you guys have done here in a couple years, not just on the field, but you're lobbying the federal government. You're involved in DC City Council. You're hiring executives. You're hiring coaches. You're doing construction. There's so many facets to what your group is doing. Did you have an idea that this was going to be as involved as it has been, or has this been bigger? For like, you probably knew it was a big bite, but maybe a larger mouthful than you bargained for.
No, I think the mission here was we know how beloved this franchise was, how much the team meant to people, families, companies, jurisdictions. Like, we knew what this meant. And, I've been here for the last 30 plus years. So I've lived through, sort of the decline and the irrelevance. And Josh grew up here and and stays close to it, and Mitch is here, and so we understood what it was a long time ago, what it was when we got there, but also what it can't, could, and should be. We also knew it wasn't going to be easy. We knew all of these things. We knew it was a rebuild on the football side, the business side, the stadium side. Like, we knew it, but that's honestly what we all love to do. Like, that's what we spend our lives doing. We love building things, all of us. I mean, look at the companies that Josh know, Apollo, and the portfolio companies. Mitch has built Danaher. Look at the stuff I've built, and you've seen the turnaround in the tennis tournament. Like, this is our passion. It's what gives us energy. And so I don't think we underestimated what it would be. I think what's been so rewarding is just how quickly fans have embraced the team again. And, when I go around town, the amount of people who stop me just to say thanks, and it's like you're giving them back something that they treasured and they had lost. And that is so gratifying. It makes all the hard work really, really worthwhile.
You know, Mark, that answer actually doesn't really surprise me at all, because it felt like as you all came in, you realized the gargantuan nature of this task, how multifaceted it is, and seemed to have a plan of attack that's allowed you to operate at the speed you have. So this is probably something we could do like an hour podcast on, but I'll just ask you one question and then we'll get to the tennis tournament. But when you take over, an asset, a company, or you think about building something, like, how do you... Like, what's the first thing on the to-do list to understand how to build to ensure that you can get to step 2 and step 3 and step 4 as you go?
Yeah, there's really two things. The first thing is, what's our mission? What do we stand for? So, like, what is it that this is all about, and what do we stand for? What are your values? What's the mission? What are the values? And we literally did that before we closed. And all of us, Josh does that with all of his companies. Mitch lives by that in his, and I live by it in ours. And so, and then you get alignment. Does everyone agree? So then you sort of have the mission and the values you're going to stand for. And then you just have to make sure you have people who are there who are aligned and buy into that, and that every decision you make is guided by them. Where organizations get off is you put those there, but then there's a short-term gain that goes against your value, and you do it, and then the whole thing crumbles. So mission and values. And then the second thing is leadership. Do you have the right people in leadership? And when people, look, we're all excited after last year and the potential of what could happen on the field this year. What I'm most excited about, truly, is the leadership of this organization. When you look at Adam Peters as GM, Dan Quinn voted best coach by the NFLPA, an incredible culture coach. Then the people they've been able to attract under them, which is incredible. The number of those people who got offered the big job, GM jobs, head coaching jobs, who said, no, I'm going to stay here because I want to be part of it. That speaks volumes. And now on the business side, we have Mark Klaus, who's an extraordinary CEO. extraordinary brand builder. It's like he didn't come from sports. We interviewed him in sports. We're like, this is the right guy because he's a culture guy and he's a brand guy and he's a leader. And so when I think not just this year, but I look at the next 10 years, we have a mission we're all agreeing on. We have a set of values we've all bought into. And then we have this incredible leadership team now also supported by the people under them. Like you can't predict what's going to happen, but you've kind of laid the foundation for hopefully a lot of good things over a long time.
Mark Ein, the CEO and chairman of the Mubadala City Open, with us here on the Hoffman Show, of course, limited partner with the Commanders as well. So you talk about the tennis tournament, flipping that. You took over as chairman in 2019. What'd you inherit, and what do you think it is now as you embark on this summer where you have 7 top 10, either WTA or ATP players coming to play already in DC, with potentially more getting added to that list closer to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of similarities. The tennis tournament, we took it over. It's the only ATP 500 on tour. It's the 5th biggest tennis tournament in the United States. I was a ball kid when I was a little kid. The 2 things I cared most about as a little kid growing up in Chevy Chase, going to Rollingwood Elementary School with Josh and Leland Junior High and BCC was the tennis tournament where I was a ball kid and the football game where I'd go with my dad. Like those were the 2 things that meant the most to me. And so this tennis tournament, as I was an adult and I would go, it's like the tennis is great, but the experience is not what it needs to be. And so when we took over, we were very ambitious and very quick in making changes. Like before we took over, there was nowhere indoor or air conditioning to go unless you were in the VIP tent. And like it's July in the middle of DC. The food was the Park Service food. It was not. And so we took it over with only 4 months, but came in and built new facilities, brought in new food, and we've kept building on that. And so now there's these great venues, indoor places, tequila bars, wine bars, like all this stuff, and 4 Michelin star chefs, best of DC food and wine. So what happened is when we took it over, 20% of the tickets were full tournament tickets and 80% people bought it by the day. We're now almost, just 5 years later, we're almost opposite that. It's 75% people committing the whole tournament. And what happened is people are like, I'm not just coming once, I'm coming every day because I can have great food, have great drinks, bring my other friends. I'm so close to the players. And so we've sold every ticket for the last 4.5 years. This year, 100% will happen. That's never going to change. And it's all the result of these investments. And then you talk about the players. We also had to really invest in the player facility. So we built this fantastic compound on site with amazing food. We literally, especially European players, coffee is the thing that matters the most to them. So we fly America's best barista in every year from Michigan to serve. And the players like that kind of touch, they love. Then we put them up at an incredible hotel. It costs us more than other places. But literally, I was talking to one of the players' agents who came yesterday, and he said, the way you treat the players, the quality of their hotels, and everything they do and they experience in DC is why so many players now want to be here. This is really great.
All right, I have so many follow-ups. First of all, how do you get named America's best barista? How has this guy hung on to his title so long? And I need to know more about the barista, Mark.
Yeah, well, you can interview him on site this year. I don't know what award he won, but he did win that award, and we pay a lot to have him come and make our players happy.
Whatever it is, he's working. All right,
good.
That's good. DC's food scene is amazing. I love the fact that you can get some of the best cuisine of any kind in the world in this city. So why was that something that you focused on to tap into that part of DC's culture? And, how did that process go of recruiting these chefs to come together to the same thing? Because I could imagine the food scene is incredibly competitive. Someone might be like, no, I'll go, but not if he's coming or she's coming.
Yeah.
So how did you get, the collaborative nature to build this environment that you have?
So look, I love food too, like you. And the thing that drives me crazy is if I go to a sporting event and I can't eat the food and I've got to eat before, after. And the thing about a tennis tournament is it's not just 1 2 hour match. If you can go stay 6 7 8 9 hours. But what would happen there is that you couldn't eat the food. So you'd come for the match and you'd leave. And it's like, if we can create the venues, the food, the drinks, that experience and curate something special with a lot of variety, people will come, they'll stay for 6 or 7 hours, and they'll come day in and day out. And so that was the vision from the very beginning. And the very first thing we did, I got my friend Jose Andres, obviously a legend in town, and he came aboard. Yeah, unreal. But we got Duke's Grocery, like the best burger in DC. We have Dolcezza ice cream. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And then over time, it's like the players. Like this tournament used to have to chase players to come play this tournament, and they would have to go chase them. Every player we announced today came to us and said, I want to come to DC. The chefs come to us, restaurants come to us. We haven't announced all the new ones who are coming. Last 2 years, we've had 4 Michelin star chefs. So Jose in at Little Washington, Nicholas Stefanelli from Officina and Masseria. We had Albie there last year and the Dabney. And we'll have something very similar this year. Plus, not just the high end, but also just the best of DC everything. And I can't wait to tell people about the other ones who are new. And we if you look, there's food stuff, there's Latteray macaroons and stuff. These are people calling us saying, how do I get a presence on the site? Because it's kind of a tennis tournament wrapped in a food and wine festival, and I want to be there. So it works great for everyone.
Well, if you want to announce any of the food people on our show and they want to, bring a sampler too, you just, your show knows how to get in touch with my show, so to speak.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Graffiti is amazing at Albie and Yellow. And by the way, congrats to Jose on the Chef's Table episode that just came out, part of the Legend series. That was very, very fun to watch. More about his story. All right, last thing for you, Mark, on the players front, one of the guys who's coming back this year, DC's very own, Francis Tiafoe. I know the relationship has been tight with him over the years, and obviously this is his hometown tournament. So how big of a role has Francis played over the years in being a part of this tournament as a player, just as a player, as someone who's risen through the ranks and been a high profile player, and then also as an ambassador for the city?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so fantastic to have Francis, just someone of his passion and character and the light that he exudes, part of our city and part of it. I mean, another, like, just the way the world works, it's so small, is, people know this story that Francis's dad was the maintenance guy at the Junior Tennis Champion Center in College Park. Coincidentally, it was my mentor in life when I worked in New York who moved to DC and built that place. And so I've known Francis and his family since Francis was like 5 years old. And as years have gone on, we built a friendship. I try to mentor him in things outside of tennis. We talk all the time. So there's a personal connection, but then just what it means for our city when he shows up and is playing the night match there, it's so electric. And it's also where Francis shines. Like, he loves the biggest stages. And I know he said after winning a Grand Slam, winning DC would mean more to him than anything else. He really wants to get his name on the awning, and I hope he can do it one year. He's just like his life story, how he carries himself, his spirit of generosity, how great he is around everyone during that week. It's one of the things that makes the tournament that so special.
He's going to have some stiff competition, which is great this year, including other top Americans, Tommy Paul, Taylor Fritz, amazing names on the women's side as well. Mark, this was so great to have you on the show. Hopefully we'll have you back soon, maybe even announcing some food. The Mobile City Open is coming back to DC. This tickets now because they are almost sold out. Mark, thanks for your time, and we really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thanks a lot. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the
And just like that, we've made it to the end of another edition of the Hoffman Show, our final segment here on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. I'll be off tomorrow doing some family stuff, and then back on Friday. Doc Walker, the one and only, in tomorrow, Anthony. So everyone give Doc and Anthony a call tomorrow is really what we're after here. Give them lots of calls. Tell Doc all your opinions. He wants to hear all of them. That's how Doc typically rolls.
Light the lamp.
Yeah.
K9 alert. Hey, look, Craig is sending out the K9 alert about 21 hours in advance.
Trying to help y'all out for tomorrow. So Doc Walker in for me. I'm sure y'all talk some NBA. See if there's more Western Conference Finals to talk about, or if this is the end for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then, of course, Game 5. No, where are we at? Game 5? Yeah,
we're game 5 for both.
Tomorrow night of the Eastern Conference Finals. So you look ahead to that. Anything else that you know is on deck? We're going to move Never Read the Comments to Friday. So Friday should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that show. Anything else that y'all got?
He texted me. I told him I was busy, though. I was on air still.
Oh.
And then he didn't say anything.
I'm sure that went over well with him.
Yeah.
He's probably going to yell at you about your hair.
Yeah, probably in about like 8 minutes or so.
Yeah. So stay tuned, as they say. But I'll be back on Friday, so looking forward to the day tomorrow, and then getting back here and yapping it up on Friday. Any other housekeeping, Anthony, to do here?
What is your confidence level that we'll be talking about the Timberwolves and Thunder on Friday?
15%. It's not very high.
Yeah, I seem to agree.
I'm confident in the Thunder. I'll put it that way. Let's wrap up with real things, real people said into real microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to be so this year.
Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right, tonight in Baltimore, Maryland at CFG Bank Arena, the Indiana Fever will take on the Washington Mystics. Again, no Caitlin Clark in that one. But being in the state of Maryland gave the Washington Mystics social team a chance to embarrass their players by asking them this.
Maryland has its own flag? Serious. Does every state have their own flag in America?
How many colors are in the Maryland flag?
So Brittany Sykes first was Australian Jade Melbourne, who didn't even know that state flags existed.
Didn't even know Maryland had a flag.
There is
Sonia
three
Citron
colors
should know.
in the Maryland flag. Is that right?
No.
I'm gonna guess 3.
No, Sony.
Is that right?
No, Sony, it's not.
Red. I mean, yeah. Red, yellow, black.
You're missing one.
I don't know. Come on.
Chuck
3.
Sutton. No.
I have no idea. I'm not American.
But
Fair
I'm gonna
answer
go
from Jade
ahead
Melvin.
and say
5. Is that it?
No.
But she knows. She's from here.
That was Aaliyah Edwards, now pointing to Shakira Austin, who is from Maryland. And
Maryland flag. Yellow, black, red.
missing one, Kira. Uh-oh.
Clock that.
There's 3 to 4 colors in the Maryland flag.
Emily Engstler, kind of right.
1, 2, 3,
4. Okay, I can name the colors. Isn't it black, red, and yellow? And white, so it's 4.
Georgia Amore,
I think
Australian,
there's
first one
black,
to get it right.
red, gold, white. 4 colors.
Kiki Iriafin, Ching Ching.
44.
She's got multiple degrees from Stanford. Or an engineering degree from Stanford.
Yellow,
Slim.
red, black, white.
Syracuse education in your face.
That was easy money.
Yeah, well, for some of them. For others, not so much. Hopefully they're, as a team, better at playing basketball than naming colors. The Maryland state flag. Also, I gotta follow up on Sonia Citron, who's incredibly bright, not knowing about state flags. Jade Melbourne, I understand. She's not from here. All right, that's our show. I'll see you Friday. Hang out with Doc tomorrow. Goodbye.